How's everybody doing? So, hey, I made it on time today, 2 o'clock. So in this show, I'm just going to do Q&A. We'll see what comes up in the discussion. We'll take it from there. I have no subject of the jour. So let's just jump into it. First question here. Hey, Stefan, what's the number one security tip you have for programmers looking to start a SaaS company? I can develop, but I'm not a security expert. So, oh, why is this echoing? Hey, I made it on time. 2 o'clock. So this show, I'm just going to do Q&A. Hold on. I know what's going on here. All right. Give me a second. Yo. Where's my video feed? Hold on. There we go. Sorry about that. Let me try that again. I had left open a window. Let's see that again. So what's the number one security tip you have for programmers looking to start a SaaS company? I can develop, but I'm not a security expert, so it is a little hard for me. Hope you are well. I'm doing fantastic. Server security should be established by your hosting company or your VPS. So you should be locking down all the ports except for the web port, HTTP 80. You can not use passwords to access your server. That's kind of the old way of doing things. It could be overdoing it, especially at first, but then you could just use keys. So you have keys on your own laptop. So only laptops or computers with keys can access via SSH. And then just make sure in terms of the app yourself, your own app itself, the biggest thing is to make sure you have a good SQL injection scrubbing put into your code. That's pretty easy to do. There's methods that do that for you, and a lot of the ORM libraries will take care of that for you as well. In the beginning, especially if you're not dealing with real sensitive data, you're not dealing with financial data, you're not dealing with personal data for kids or something, that should be enough in terms of your own security, that's for sure. Later on, as the thing develops, you could start getting deeper into that. But just doing that will go a long way to protecting the integrity of your system, right? Like, for instance, I tell people, if you're going to ever do e-commerce on your website, do not store the credit card information on your own machines. I used to do that, 20 years ago. I haven't done it since. Everything is offline. We have no financial information about any of our clients on the server. In fact, by default, StudioWeb for institutions, we don't have personal information about the students. We track all their performance records and whatnot, but it's not bound to any individual that you could find. It's just a username. And you can optionally use the system without using an email address. So it's really, if the user wants to, it's practically, even if we got hacked, there's no useful information in StudioWeb. There literally isn't. You'll just have a user ID, and an encoded password, and a bunch of data that you have to re-put together to come up with grades and stuff, but you won't know who it is. So that's another way you can protect the integrity of your system, is by having a system that in of itself is engineered to not have any sensitive information about your user base, whether it be financial information, which you should not have, because then you have all kinds of regulatory requirements if you do that, PCI compliance or whatnot. So that's my advice right off the top of my head. Sean, is it better to learn software development under Windows or Linux? It makes no difference because it depends in the end where you want to go. See, when you get to an expert level, when you get advanced enough, you'll be able to move from one platform to the next, one language to the next. Yeah, you have to learn a little bit. But once you understand how to be administrator for Linux, to do it for Windows in terms of within the context of being a developer, it's not a big leap, because a lot of the concepts, most of the concepts are pretty much the same. Darko says, hey, Steph, hope you're doing great over there. I'm doing pretty good. It's sunny out. It's kind of warm. I was driving around with the convertible down. I love that. It's like one of my pleasures in life. And once I finish this live stream, I may actually go play hooky today. As we used to say up here in Montreal, I'm going to juke. Juke means to skip. So I may juke the rest of my day. One of the advantages of owning the business, right? Let's see what Latin has to say. Doesn't matter for the first year, so later on depends on the tech stack and what's used in your corner world. I think he's talking about the, okay, we can go with that. Let's see what we got. Amir, I started studying web dev 7 months ago daily, but built projects, took computer science courses with my web dev courses and used StudioWeb. Today, I just signed my first 6-week remote contract with React. Congratulations, man. Cool. So you did it in 7 months. Fantastic. There you go. So I've seen people do it in 7 months, 6 months. I see people take their time, do it over the year. I see people get entry-level jobs within a month or two. So that's fantastic. Congratulations. See, once you're there, when it comes to any skill set, it doesn't really matter if it takes you a month or 6 months or a year to get there, really. Because once you are there, once you understand, once you have that aha moment and you go, I understand what's going on with this JavaScript now. I understand the web stack. I understand HTTP. I understand databases. And once you understand this stuff, you understand it. It can never be taken away. And then you have this superpower. So it doesn't matter where you are, if you're 15 or 55 or whatever, get into it. And then you've just basically, armed yourself with a very, very valuable and useful set of skills and a way of thinking. Once you learn how to code, and a lot of experienced developers will tell you that, it affects and impacts how you observe the entire world, how you see how things are laid out. For example, one of the things you're going to learn in software development that big, huge, complex, monolithic systems are very, very, very expensive to maintain and run and build, and are just a big mess. Experienced developers like to create smaller, more compact, unifunctional systems, meaning systems that do one little thing. When you develop an object, whether it be in C# or Java or Python, PHP, whatever, you don't want an object that does 20 different things. You want an object that does one thing so that it's easy to maintain that object. Then you have another object that does another thing, easy to maintain. Then you have the system communicate with each other. So we know, as experienced developers, that you want systems that are made up of many small components that talk to each other in a common language. So how does that relate to other aspects in life? Think about it. Think about how government systems work. We all know that huge government, huge corporations are filled with waste, and it's hard to get things done because there's a lot of problems turning that huge ship, right? So you're better off, for example, to have smaller branches of government that talk to each other in a common language and take care of their own responsibilities. This is not a political statement. This is just something I've seen and observed from 25 years of writing software and seeing how systems work. That's why you see innovations in small companies, not big, because the small companies are fast, maneuverable, and the people there are thinking outside of the box. That's why you see innovation typically in the small businesses. Big businesses will buy up the small businesses that have innovated, because the big monoliths, the big, huge systems, very hard to update and change. I hope that makes sense. This is one example. You see it in martial arts as well. Talk to any experienced martial arts. One of the big problems with the traditional systems is that they're loaded down in all this complexity, all these techniques. Do number 1, then number 2, then number 3, right? And you get caught up in all these techniques and all these little details, but they're never learning how to fight, right? I hope that makes sense. I don't know. I always try to do that. I'm always trying to look at fundamental concepts behind everything that I do. So one thing is software development is kind of like math in the sense that when you implement an idea in software, it either works or doesn't work. And you start to see really very quickly whether or not a particular theory that you have implemented, put into practice, you start to see very quickly whether or not it has an impact, a real positive impact in what you're trying to achieve. If that makes any sense. All right, here we go. Marco, I'm from Slovenia, and I am wondering, how can I get to countries with better opportunities fast? Should I go to college? College will help you. College will help you. They definitely look at you in terms of what your level of education is. But what you should do is you figure out what countries you want to go to and contact those countries' consulates or look it up online, and you'll see the criteria. They'll list, well, this is what we look for in people, and just go accordingly. I want to buy your web course and freelance course. Is there any difference between StudioWeb and Killer Shop? No, when you buy it from the Killer Video Store, the Killer Shop, as you say, you just get hooked up with the StudioWeb courses. Yeah, I just get the Killer Video Store up there because I guess still a lot of people go there from the other sites. I got to eventually wind that one down. Yeah, so that's it. It's cardigan time. Yeah. Well, last time I'll probably wear it was starting to get hot out there, you know. Hello from the other side of the ocean. Nemanja. I guess you're in Europe I guess you're in Europe or maybe South America. Where's your favorite t-shirt? German or Japanese cars? Japanese cars are more reliable. German cars are much more fun to drive. I drive a German car. Sir, hi sir, did you find out the reason for the weird selenium WebDriver in Python? No, I haven't had a chance to look at that. I am super busy these days because as you may know, I'm about to move within a few weeks. And I've been running around taking care of a bunch of stuff. And so that's it's forced me to just do, what I need to do to keep things running until I get relocated. At what point one can say that a SaaS business is becoming viable and sustainable? When the money coming in through the SaaS is covering your expenses. Now, this could take a long time. So sometimes you have to have deep pockets. Sometimes you have to have cash flow from another business to finance. Sometimes you have to go get some VC money. It depends on what you're doing. Now, whether you get VC or not, it really depends on the type of business that you are starting up, the nature of your SaaS, if you will. Hey, Stef, I'm working as a back-end dev for 7 years. I'm 26, and I want to start developing towards a software architect role. Any suggestions? Yeah, well, start learning about software architecture. Start reading up about it, design theory and stuff. Not design theory in terms of artistic design, but in terms of software architecture. You know what? I'll do a video on that. It's a subject I can talk about a bit, but just get into it. Start designing software. Maybe do some small projects on the side so you can show prospective employers, oh, look, I've designed on the side with these freelance. Look, I can design software. That might be a way to start doing it. It's like my friend, I've told this story before. My friend, a good friend of mine, his uncle was one of the top directors in Canada, one of the top guys, did top shows. And he told him that if you want to be a director, you direct, right? He warned him and said the mistake a lot of people make in the film industry is that a lot of them want to become directors, but they think wrongly that they have to learn all the other stuff first. They have to learn how to be a gaffer and how to shoot a camera or how to do locations or whatever. And he said, the problem with that is that you're not directing. He says, you want to direct. You want to start designing apps? Just start designing apps. Read a little bit about the basics of it. You must know something now after 7 years. And just start doing it. Do it on the side if they won't let you do it at work. Do it on side projects and just start developing that skill in a real tangible way with real clients. Hi, Steph. I did an exam for a next job as senior dev. He liked it and seems I got next interview where I have to face 5 people from that company. Do you have any advice for such an interview to go well? Yeah, make sure you understand that company very well. Understand what they're doing, understanding where the goals are. You should be able to look this up on their site. Check out what technologies they use and bone up on those technologies, especially the stuff that you think they would be needing to do going forward. So let's say you see that they're doing a lot of React Native work, then make sure you know React Native, make sure you know the latest developments with React Native. You get the idea. So that's what I would do. If you come to them with knowledge about their business, that tells them that A, that you're paying attention, B, that you're trying to figure out things for them. It shows them that you're able to go out and do stuff on your own without having to be told. And that's how you rise up in the ranks. For me, I put people in senior dev positions, when I can see that they don't need me micromanaging them. Like that's like, if I have, when I have a guy or a girl who can write code, and I've had both, and I just give them the basic outline. Here's the architecture, here are the standards, boom, boom, boom. And I know that they'll do it according to the standards, and I won't need to say, go and do code inspections. I won't need to ask them how they're doing. Did you meet those milestones? Then they're much more valuable to me. Let's see. Hey, Stefan, how to overcome from project pressure and how to handle this pressure smoothly, which not affect my project efficiency. Well, you got to pace yourself, meaning you got to not burn yourself out, because as you get into your work life more and more and more, there's unlimited work, right? You could code 24/7, take tons of drugs to stay awake, and 5 years later, you still have tons of work. So you have to pace yourself so that you have rest time. You got to give your brain a rest so that it can recover and be productive. Just like when you train, you have to train really hard, but then you have to give your body time to rest and heal so you can come back. So that's the first thing I would do. Next thing I would do is be consistent with the work and measured so that you don't have to rush at the end, although that happens a lot. Easier said than done. Those are my two best advice. And then be healthy, be in shape, drink lots of water, sleep well. That plays a huge role, huge role. Okay, here we go. James G says, what programming language should one master to develop various applications? I'm studying Python. I'm also looking to learn C# and Java. What do you recommend to learn vividly? Thanks. Again, people who know the videos know what the answer is. I got to do that video FAQ. Look around at the market. What are the jobs like? Pick the language that you first like to do, and but there's a lot of opportunity in terms of work, right? That's what I would do, because they're all good choices. They're all good choices, all very circumstantial. What do we got here? So when a website prompts you to save credit card for future purchases, where is that being saved? That's being saved on their systems. Big companies, some companies will do it. I don't do it because it's just, I just don't want the responsibility of having to, when your server is holding credit card information, then you got all kinds of liabilities that you have to consider. Your server becomes much more of a hacker sweet target, because they go, ooh, these guys have credit card information. So I would not, I just don't do it personally because I don't need to do it, I just don't want that headache. I used to do it. It's just, I like it that, if my system gets hacked, I sleep well at night knowing that even if it got hacked, there's nothing there. It's like, man, you got some random username, that's it. Have fun. That's why I always suggest when you have accounts on different social media, use different user IDs, different passwords, different email addresses, use two-factor authentication. Of course, most hacks are because people use very predictable passwords, right? So don't do that. All right, it was a non-coding question, a Canada question. Montreal, Toronto, which would you live in your 20s? Montreal is the great city. It's much less expensive. It's a walking city. The food here is unbelievable. I think Montreal has more restaurants per capita than any place in the world. We have really amazing food from all different cultures, whether it be Indian, Afghan food, Chinese, Japanese, Greek, Italian, Mediterranean, all kinds. That's like crazy good food here, crazy good food. And it's relatively inexpensive and very safe compared to Toronto. Toronto is a great city, don't get me wrong, but it's a big city. And, in Toronto, it's so big, if you want to go to the bathroom, you're going to have to drive for 2 hours. That's how big it is. Is it best to be specialized or more flexible in what you do? It depends on the type of career that you want. If you want to get into freelance, you want to be a little bit more flexible. You want to have full stack knowledge, be willing to pivot and turn. But if you're going to go work for a company, you find yourself probably in a specialization. If you want to get into management, you got to be a generalist and specialist. Also depends on your natural talents. You may be somebody who's better as a generalist, and then you should position yourself in your career that way, and you may be better as a specialist, so you position yourself. That's a whole different subject as well. Hi, Steph. What are your thoughts about senior full stack developer moving into data science? I've never been a data scientist. I couldn't say. I think it's data science might be more of an academic, bureaucratic type of environment, perhaps, where full stack developer could be that, but you also have the option of doing freelance and being more Wild West. So again, consider the work life, right? It's lot less about the coding, more about the work life, the work environment that matters there. I hope that makes sense. Encoded passwords can be unencoded. Of course, anything is hackable. If you're storing passwords on your server with usernames, it can be enough info to use on other sites, as many people use the same username passwords on other sites. Exactly, driver Steve. That's why I recommend you use different usernames and passwords on different sites. And if they're banking sites and important social media sites that have two-factor authentication, use that as well. Very important. If you don't know, two-factor authentication is an authentication where if you log in, it has to send a text message to your cell phone, and you have to respond with the code that they send you, or you can't get in. And that's the way to do it. What was that again? Did you ever have a chance to work with gRPC? No, I have not. Sorry. What is your view when a middle to big size companies reduce salaries of their workforce? Middle to big reduce salaries of a workforce. I think it's supply and demand. I think what you got to do as a developer, and you're looking at your career, whether it be working for a company, small, big, whether you freelance, whether you do your own SaaS. What I'm trying to teach here, what I do differently. People ask me, why don't I do a tutorial on this or that, the other thing? I said, because I don't need to. Because once you do my fundamentals, you can learn all that stuff very easily with free tutorials on YouTube, or just go to the docs, right? What I try to teach here is how to think like an advanced developer, and also I try to teach you how to monetize your skills in all these different ways. And so when I look at companies reducing salaries, if you follow what I teach, you're not going to be there. You're going to be positioning yourself so that your salary is just going to keep going up, or you're going to be making more money because you're going to position yourself within the companies or within organizations or as a freelancer or with your SaaS, but you're not subject to that, right? There's all these different things I teach in terms of how to approach it, how to think, the skills to develop. Also, financial skills, like one of the basic things, like FU money. FU money is huge. Some people talk. If you had followed my FU money teachings, I did a video, I put it on YouTube, 2, 3, 4 years ago, I forget it is now, you'd be fine now. You would be fine now. This COVID thing would not affect you at all. And that's the thing, right? You can find yourself within a short period of time, I don't know, it could be a year, it could be 2 years, depending on how hard you work, and luck is also a factor into it. But you could be in a short period of time, find yourself in a position financially and psychologically where you feel like you're worth $10 million. What do I mean by that? I mean, you can find yourself quickly in a position where you're financially independent, not under the gun, not under stress. So these are all the things that I try to teach. I'm trying to put this all together for you guys. I'm trying to teach how to take technical skills and soft skills, a little bit of personal finance skills, put them all together so you're free of the system, right? So that's what I think about this situation. If you find yourself in a business where they're reducing salaries, you should position yourself so you can just say, I have FU money, I know what I'm doing, I'm not subject to this. That's it. I hope that makes sense. Let's see what we got here. I got messages coming in. Okay. Is HTML and JavaScript a good start for a total beginner interested in this field? Yes, it is. What laptop requirements you need to start as soon as possible without any roadblocks? You could use a 5-year-old laptop and you will be fine. A 5-year-old laptop will get you there without a problem. It's probably a 7, 8-year-old laptop will get you there. When you're writing code, you're just writing code. Okay, let's see what we got here. Part 1, I am working full-time and also I am doing freelancing on the side and can say with this situation worldwide, my income as a freelance will be for this month more than my monthly pay. There you go. Your course helped me especially with the payment system that you suggest. Of course, my personal context is that we have a kid already and one on the way, so it can be tricky. Part 3. This is the first time I'm doing a 3-parter here. I am also the main income for our family. I would like to know your opinion on this. Thank you as always. Well, just keep leveraging I assume you did the freelance course. Keep leveraging the lessons there. Keep implementing the process and the strategy I teach there. And it's always harder to get into your own business, and being a freelancer is being in your own business. It's always harder when you have kids, but work towards that FU money. Build that up. Make sure you don't have any expensive debt as well, like credit card. And just keep working that way. You want to get as many small clients as possible. As I teach, many small clients are much, much better than a few big clients, because if you have 20 small clients and one gets on your nerves, you can fire them and they're only worth a very small fraction of your income. But if you have 3 big clients and one gets on your nerves, you don't want to fire that big client because they're a third of your income, give or take. So you don't want that, because one of the main advantages of being in business, being a freelancer, starting a SaaS, is that you set the stage. You decide when you work, how you work, what you want to work with, who you want to work with, and ultimately how much you can make. So you don't want to, in your business life, you don't want to put yourself in a situation where you're just an employee under the thumb of a big business or 1 or 2 clients, right? All right, what do we got here? Stefan, how to remember CSS properties? There are countless of them. You will never remember them all. I've forgotten 99.9% of them as we speak. But if you understand CSS properties, how they work and the principles, you just look them up. We have something called Google, and Google is very powerful. And it's killed the book industry. In the old days, back in the 90s, we used to have stacks of books. We used to have to go through books and find stuff before Google. So that's what I would do. Just learn the principles. You don't have to worry about the details, because you can just look up the details. Stef, why is React so popular? What problem does it solve? And am I right in thinking things written in React can be written in vanilla JS anyway? It's popular because it works. It's also backed by Facebook, which gives it a lot of credibility. It solves a problem of dealing with a lot of the headaches that vanilla JavaScript could provide for you, because there's some weirdness in the language, as I said, especially cross-browser. I'm assuming React solves those problems. And on top of that, it just takes care of a lot of scaffolding, if you will, or boilerplate stuff that it would take a long time to do on your own. It just saves you a lot of time in the end. So, yeah, that's it. If you got a complex front end, you probably want to use a library like a React or a Vue. What do you think is more important for software developers, soft skills or technical? Well, you have to have technical knowledge. But once you have that base where you're technically competent, then you start developing good soft skills, good communication skills. Does having an MFA from an elite writing program help at all in getting a coding job? Well, maybe if you write really, really well and you write good emails to your prospects and you write out a nice looking website and make sure that you have really impressive writing, that could help. But whether you have the degree or not, I don't think it makes a difference. Actually, it doesn't. Main Street says, hey, how you guys are doing? Okay, how are we doing for time? All right. I'm limiting this to the half an hour mark. So we're going to be closing off. Now I'm about to graduate from college as a software engineer and wondering always either if in the business world things like UML class diagram plus activity diagram and other UML used in business or not. Strangely enough, that stuff is still used in larger corporations. Very large corporations will use that. Not so much small, medium, depending. But yeah, it's mainly for enterprise. Enterprise means big business. Stefan, can you make some book suggestions for front-end developer like you don't know JavaScript? Whoa. If you know the basics of JavaScript, you understand, you've done, for example, my JavaScript course, and if you want to use a book, I would, by default, I would just go to one of the O'Reilly titles, one of the O'Reilly books. O'Reilly consistently puts out the best books. There's great books in all the publishers, of course, but they put out the great books. What else? I feel great to have you. All right. Thanks for letting me know. I assume you're talking about me. All right. What is the best way to add Python to WordPress? Why would you want to add Python to WordPress? Well, if you want to integrate Python, let's say there's some Python libraries you figure that could be integrated into some WordPress-based system, you have to look at how you can use PHP to call those Python libraries or scripts, and I'm sure there must be a bridge out there, and if there is, then you'd probably have to implement that via a WordPress plugin. So you create a WordPress plugin, which is WordPress is PHP based, and that WordPress plugin would be used to call whatever Python libraries that you want to call. How many, I assume he means, how much experience a web developer need to become a software architect? You know, I've seen people just get into software architecture. I'm never convinced of their abilities. I figure if you write code for 2-3 years, then you can start diving into architecture. Although I started doing it right away and I kind of learned both concurrently. So you could do that as well, I suppose. It depends on your talents, you know. The firstborn, what do you think of Python being a language of choice for developing FinTech software? Well, I don't know. I'm not sure Python's use in FinTech. If it's used a lot, meaning there's a lot of good Python modules in FinTech, then do that, you know. Then do it, you know. What do we got here? No notifications at all this morning. Hey, how you doing, Mike? That's weird. Well, of course, I only put out the notification about a half an hour before the broadcast. So, all right. I feel great to have you because you're the only pro who read the questions on the comments and answered. Oh, no worries. I'm here to answer. I wonder how pro anyway. What's more profitable, being a YouTuber or a developer? Say something on the downside of development, e.g. superiors, big ego characters. That's a good question. I'm not a full-time YouTuber, so first of all. Your best bet by far, is to be a developer. Why? Because for every YouTuber that makes money, there are thousands and thousands, not tens of thousands of developers who make the same money or much more money. Very few YouTubers make the same money as a typical developer with a couple of years experience. Any YouTube business, and it's a business, will take 3 to 4 years to establish itself on average. So sometimes it's quicker, sometimes, a lot of times, never happens. A very, very small percentage of YouTubers make much money. Like I'm probably, I forget what the number is, but I'm in the top, like in terms of earnings on YouTube, I think I'm in the top like 5% or something like that. Don't quote me on that. I'm not sure. I'm very up in the high end, but my YouTube doesn't make me much money. Like a developer with experience makes much more money than I make on YouTube. And I'm in the upper end of the YouTubers. So you can't make the mistake at looking at the PewDiePies and the Casey Neistats or these top guys and say, oh, look at these guys make all this kind of money. They're the rare exception. It'd be like looking at the world champion boxer or MMA fighter and assuming that's a relative number relative to the average fighter who makes absolutely nothing. So between the two, I would be a developer, 100%. I do YouTube for fun. I found out by fluke of circumstance that it's good for promotion, but it's not my main business, not my second business, not my fifth business. Although I do make a little money with it, it's good for promotion. Hi, Stef. Have you read Clean Code, and what do you think about the book? I have not read the book, but I like the idea of the title. Clean Code is the best code. All right, I'm going to answer 2-3 more questions, and I'm out of here because it's already 35 minutes. Stef, how would you advertise small business SaaS solution? It depends on the domain. Depends if you're in what type of business you're appealing to. Then you can choose your marketing strategy accordingly. That being said, I would advertise with Google ads far before Facebook ads. You might want to do content marketing depending on the type of business that you do, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I have several websites that have good traffic, killersites.com, killerphp.com, how to build websites. They've been around for 10, 15, 20, 25 years. So they have a lot of built-in value and an audience. So I'm able to work off of that. I also have salespeople, and I have this YouTube, of course, and other social media. So it's a mixture of things, you know. All right. I concur with Montreal choice. Lives in Toronto. Okay, so there you go. Yeah, it all depends what you want. Any books on how to write well-organized and maintainable code? Yeah, hold on. This is it. This is the one. This is the granddaddy one. This is all in Java, but the lessons are super valuable. After this video goes into archive, I will have a link to this book under the video, but you can just find this on Amazon, of course. That's it. I've literally read hundreds and hundreds of technology books over the years. I used to spend $3,000 to $4,000 a year on coding books and software development books, and I've thrown out, the 99% of them. I got a stack. I'll bring them out for the next video because I'm about to throw those out because I'm not moving them to the next spot. Okay, last question from Colt. Stefan, new to the channel, love your content. I am wanting to make mobile apps. I'm learning Flutter, and I am in love. Fantastic. Flutter's, I like Flutter. I haven't done anything, but I took a look at the tech, and I said, this is an interesting tech. Anyway, CSS alignment has always been tough, but Flutter is clicking. Thoughts? Yeah, CSS alignment is one of the worst conceived technologies ever written by man or beast. People know me, I've been highly critical of the way they structured CSS. That being said, it's not entirely their fault because the web and web's pages were designed to be documents, not to be user interfaces. And CSS, cascading style sheets, was designed to style pages, not to create user interfaces. And they started hacking the hell out of it in the late 90s, early 2000s with the web standards movement and Eric Meyer and those guys to try to use CSS to create layouts. Recently, though, with CSS Grid and Flexbox, it makes it much easier. Or prior to that, using libraries like Bootstrap makes it much easier. The key to understanding CSS layout, the old style stuff, is understanding the box model. I may have put up those videos on YouTube for free. It's in my CSS course. Once you understand the box model and the CSS cascade, the rest of CSS becomes pretty approachable. I'll just end it off with this because people want to know. Let's code with Jack Hoxton. Why do you not like Ruby on Rails? I don't actually dislike it. It's just a channel joke, It's just a channel joke. That being said, I have a long history of defending PHP versus Ruby going back to the mid 2000s. I won't get into it here, but no, if you listen, there's lots of jobs for Ruby, I'm sure. It's lost a lot of its sizzle, but I don't think Ruby Rails is going away anytime soon, although it would not be my first choice. Before I'd build something in Rails, I would probably use PHP or Python Django for various reasons. But in of itself, it's fine. Like I was just talking to my brother a couple of days ago. He uses Ruby. He's an iOS developer most of the time, but he will write Ruby scripts for server tasks and so forth. All right, guys, 40 minutes. That's it. I got to go finish my my fancy McDonald's coffee, and we'll talk soon. Ciao.